Our newest license plate is now available. The world's first screen-accurate replica of the original Knight plate seen in the very first episodes of the show. Plus, we still have our Season 2 and 3 Knight, Car, and Flag 1 plates, all highly screen-accurate and copied from the originals. So kick your Knight Rider license plate collection into high gear with our exclusive line, only available at knightriderhistorians.com. Hey guys, so before we get into the topic of this video, wanted to give you an update on a previous video and tell you about something exciting that's coming up that I think you're really going to like. So first of all, an update on our video we did on the Hoff's 1985 Pontiac Trans Am promo car. A lot of you guys saw the video. If you didn't, we found David Hasselhoff's 1985 Trans Am that was given to him by Pontiac due to his work on Knight Rider. We went over the whole car, showed you its history, showed you its provenance. Well, I'm happy to report the car is sold, and the car has already left here, and it's going to end up in a museum. So I'm not going to give any more details right now. I'm going to let the new owner, should that new owner want to be known, to reveal themselves and kind of tell you about the plan, and maybe you can follow along as the car is preserved, restored a little bit, and put on display in a museum. So that's really cool. And also, I am going to make a return to RetroCon. Now, you guys might remember in 2022, AJ and I took one of our screen used kits to RetroCon. The response was phenomenal. I actually lost my voice from talking so much over the course of that weekend. We had a wonderful, wonderful time, met a lot of you guys out there, and we were just invited back to RetroCon this year, September 6th and 7th in Oaks, PA. You can go to retrocon.com for more information. We will be there, and if everything works out, we're going to bring our other screen use kit, the one that has been in the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles for the last 6 years. It's coming out of the museum, and we are thinking about bringing it. That car is very interesting. That car was used in all 4 years of the show. It was one of the original 3 cars that Glenn Larson secured to film the pilot. It is actually the very same Trans Am you see in the opening seconds of the Knight Rider intro. Whenever you see Kit racing towards you in the desert from, way off in the distance, that is this car. So tons of history. It was also used as Car, K-A-R-R, in Kit vs. Car. It was the car that was buried in the sand at the very beginning of the episode, among many, many other appearances. It was a high traction drop down car for Speed Demons. Such cool history with that car, and you guys will hopefully get a chance to see it up close. The only reason I'm not 100% sure if we're bringing it is because I know the engine, it runs and everything, but it smokes a lot. It needs some TLC, so we'll see what it is, but I'm hoping to bring that car. All right, so those are the exciting announcements. So now let's get into this video. Let's talk a little bit about David Hasselhoff's Night Rocker tour in 1987. I'll give you a little background on that tour and tell you about the kit replica that he used on stage, its connection to Universal Studios, and where it is today, if it is still around. So don't think you're going to want to miss this one. Lots of interesting information. So with that said, let's go ahead and dig into the Hoff's Night Rocker car. David Hasselhoff is a name most people recognize from his roles on Knight Rider and Baywatch, but his career as a pop star, particularly in Europe, is a fascinating and lesser-known chapter of his life. In the mid-1980s, while enjoying success on American television, Hasselhoff ventured into music, and though his early attempts were met with mixed reviews in the US, something remarkable happened in Europe. His unique mix of TV fame and music created a phenomenon, especially in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. It all started with the release of his debut album, Night Rocker, in 1985. Fans of Knight Rider got a chance to hear a lot of these songs in the musically focused Season 2 episode, Let It Be Me, a year prior.
This could be our first night together. Listen to my heart and you'll know it's right. Doesn't it seem there's a spell falling over us tonight?
The album wasn't much of a success in the United States, but it quickly gained traction in Germany, where his popularity as a TV star played a huge role. In fact, Night Rocker reached #1 on the Austrian charts, and it went platinum in that country. In Germany, the album's catchy pop rock sound and his already established celebrity status helped him build a loyal fan base. It was this success in Central Europe that encouraged Hasselhoff to take his music career more seriously, setting the stage for his first major European tour, the Night Rocker Tour. In 1987, Hasselhoff embarked on the Night Rocker Tour, a turning point in his music career. The tour primarily took place across Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, where his fame as Michael Knight from Knight Rider earned him a huge following. But it wasn't just his TV persona that captivated fans. It was his charismatic stage presence and his ability to connect with his audience. The tour featured his hits from Night Rocker like Night Rocker, Crazy on a Saturday Night, and Do You Love Me, along with his high-energy performances that often included duets with his then-wife, Catherine Hickland. The crowds were electrified as they saw the star of Knight Rider transform into a rock star, delivering performances that combined the glitz and glamour of 1980s pop with the thrill of a live rock show. The concerts themselves were a spectacle, energetic, with Hasselhoff often engaging the audience with playful banter and infectious enthusiasm. His fans in Central Europe, especially in Austria, were thrilled to see their favorite American TV star in person, bringing an element of excitement and exclusivity to the performances. For Hasselhoff, the tour was a revelation. His fan base was bigger than he'd ever imagined, and it encouraged him to pursue his music career even further. KITT played a special role in David Hasselhoff's Night Rocker tour, showcasing his business acumen. As Hasselhoff was preparing for that tour, he decided to bring a replica KITT car along with him. He figured if the fans didn't want to come to see him, they would certainly come to see KITT. Working with a company called Hollywood Productions, David arranged to get 2 kits for his tour. Hollywood Productions was the company who worked with Universal Studios to build approximately 6 official tour cars that traveled the world, promoting Knight Rider at malls and car shows in the early to mid-80s. By 1987, Hollywood Productions began selling off their tour cars, as by that time, they had already acquired 4 of the screen-used original kits from the studio, since the show had ended a year prior, and they didn't need the replicas. The 2 cars supplied to Hasselhoff for the Night Rocker tour were both Hollywood Productions' officially licensed tour cars. The cars were showcased at concert venues and public events, adding a sense of excitement and nostalgia for the fans who knew him as the star of Knight Rider. KITT's inclusion in the tour was a nod to Hasselhoff's TV persona and helped bridge his dual career as an actor and a musician. The car itself was often used as a prop, parked next to the stage or even brought out during certain parts of the concert, giving fans a live-action feel of the Knight Rider experience, although there were no turbo boosts. In an iconic scene from this tour, Hasselhoff can be seen rocking out on the roof of one of these cars. So the question of course remains, does this car that Hasselhoff stood on still exist? So this is actually the Night Rocker car, the same one that Hasselhoff stood on in 1987. This is one of the earliest photos we have of this car, back before it was a car for his tour. It was one of the 6 officially licensed tour cars, and here it is on display in Miami in 1983. This would have been within a few months of the car actually being built, a few months after Hollywood Productions actually secured the license from Universal Studios to build and tour these cars. The car toured around for the next couple of years, actually, in New York and Indiana and Ohio and Philadelphia. It was kind of all over the area. We don't know for sure, but the fact that there were 6 tour cars, we think that they were kept regional within the United States. So one tour car would most likely stay on the East Coast, one in the Midwest, one in the West Coast, etc. Don't have any proof of that, but obviously it would make sense for logistics and for cost. The last time we see this car in the United States was late 1986, which actually makes perfect sense, right? Because shortly after this is when David was starting to plan his European tour and needed the car overseas. In fact, it was March of 1987 that the deal was finalized, and this particular kit car made its way over from the United States to Europe in preparation for the Night Rocker tour. And the nice thing for Hasselhoff was the car was already built, so no additional modifications needed to be made. So you can see here, this is during the rehearsals of the Night Rocker tour. You can see that particular tour car in the background. And beyond the car just being used on the concert stage, it also toured around to local areas where Hasselhoff's Night Rocker tour was performing. And this provided some excitement around the opportunity, and no doubt got additional people to the event, specifically to see Kit and Michael Knight back together again. So you can see here the car was outfitted fairly nicely. It wasn't 100% screen accurate, but it was built just the same way the other tour cars were. Hollywood Productions had access to the original molds from Universal Studios, so the dash you see here, the overhead, the steering wheel, these all came from the original studio molds, but the electronics were hand built by Hollywood Productions, and you can see obviously the one TV, which was changed out in this car, by the way. This car originally had the 2 TVs, and then they switched it over to this one central TV. Looks kind of like a Cyclops. It doesn't really look right there. So this car definitely has some lineage and heritage towards, you know, the original screen used cars, but was not screen used in any way. So Hasselhoff did a lot of prep work here. Here's the car being towed through the city. Look at all the people around that came to see Michael and Kit. I mean, there's just hundreds of people surrounding this car. There's another view. One way you can always tell the tour cars is the crossed eye and the night plate. Those were all the tour cars. There's a little kid wanting in to see Kit. So, as you can see, the car was extremely popular, and this is part of the reason why Hasselhoff's tour became so popular. And yes, here's one of the famous shots of Hasselhoff standing on the roof of this car. This was actually during a rehearsal of the tour. This wasn't actually during the performance, but it's a great shot, and you can see Hasselhoff on the roof. You can see a cable here. They had a cameraman on the inside filming Hasselhoff up through the T-top, and that's kind of what you see right there. And there's another kind of grainy shot, but cool nonetheless, of Hasselhoff with his, looks like maybe he has his lighted Looking for Freedom tour coat on, I'm not sure. And then this was taken actually during one of his performances where he's on the roof, and if you look really closely you can see the cameraman right here. You see him right there sitting in the driver's side seat, which I think is all the way reclined back. So after the Night Rocker tour ended, what happened to the car? Well, pretty straightforward. The car ended up at the Siegfried Marcus Automobile Museum in Austria. And from there, fans could come and see the car. Here's a few kind of grainy shots of the car outside of the museum here, as you can see. So the car remained here until 2005. At that point, the car was sold off to a private collector. And this, I believe, is the man who bought the car. This was taken back in 2005. The car had undergone some changes between 1987 and 2005. You can see the TV has been changed. Looks like the dash might have been painted all gloss black. Maybe some additional buttons up here. So it certainly wasn't exactly as it was back in the day. By 2010, however, unfortunately, the car was parked and kind of languished a little bit in a field, as you can see here. Here's some close-ups of the original tour car electronics that were still in it at the time. You can see, like I said, the dash had been painted. That single TV in the center had been replaced with an offset one. Doesn't really look the greatest. Lower console panel was changed out to just a blank template. So the car just kind of sat here for a while. But later on in 2010, there you can see the scanner sort of working. Later on in 2010, the car was auctioned on eBay. The car was cleaned up, got the electronics working again. This is from an event they had with the car where you could get your picture taken with it, as you can see here. So the car definitely received a new life. The interior was pretty much still that shiny black. Looks like the pod buttons were gone. So the car definitely needed a little bit of TLC by this point in its life. Sometime in the early to mid 2010s, Hasselhoff was reunited with this car, as you can see here. And when he was reunited with it, he was asked to sign the outside of the car. You could see his signature here on the sail panel, and then he inscribed his signature very largely, probably the largest autograph he's ever given, all over the hood, which, you know, you can debate whether that was a good thing to do or not. Me personally, I probably would not have had that done. And here's a better look at that signature right here. Look how big it is. It's kind of crazy. So in 2019, our illustrious historian, A.J. Palmgren, was able to visit this car in person. And he took, as he usually does, just 1,000 photos up close of the different panels. As you can see here, all the original tour car electronics, random buttons and knobs and LEDs. But yeah, he had the chance to kind of look it all over and really see, you know, there's the fog light grills that were just kind of haphazardly glued into the front bumper. Now, the owner at that time thought this car was actually a screen-used Knight Rider car. By the time AJ left his place, he unfortunately had to break the news to him that no, this was not screen used. This was just a tour car. Still a very neat piece of Knight Rider history, but it was only a tour car. So the following year, with that information, the owner decided to sell the car. And they contacted Julian's Auctions in Beverly Hills. You can see David Hasselhoff, Kit, and Michael. And these were some of the auction pictures at the time. There's his other signature there. So the car by this point had been heavily modified from when it was originally built in 1983 by Hollywood Productions, as you can see. The dash is still mostly the same. So, believe it or not, this particular car in 2020 sold for $192,000. And it's at this point that the car has dropped off our radar. So we don't know where this particular car has ended up after the auction. So if you guys know, let us know. We'd love to keep record of it. We like to keep track of the original cars and then the officially licensed tour cars. So there you go. There's kind of the history of this particular Night Rocker tour car. How it was built originally, what it was built for, how it became the Night Rocker car, Hasselhoff standing on the roof, and its life after. Now, if you like this, we could do this kind of deep dive on all of the officially licensed tour cars, and we'll probably end up doing that, as well as the other Night Rocker tour car and the two Looking for Freedom tour cars, which were unique in and of themselves, and we can give you a complete history on those. So maybe we'll do that in the future. Maybe let us know in the comments below what's the next car you want us to do a deep dive on, and maybe we'll do it. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this. That's all I've got for today. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time.
Hello friends, it's me, KITT. When I'm not out fighting crime, I like to follow my friends at knightriderhistorians.com. Check it out.